Welcome back. Today we'll be talking about rice cookers, and look, food is an important part of any culture and it's completely legitimate to discuss it at length. I'll cover other topics when I get to them. Sue me! Don't sue me, please. I'm sorry, things are tough right now. Back on topic. Rice cookers are a great invention. They do one thing and they do it flawlessly. Cooking rice by hand tends to be a complicated matter that has to be timed just right. It is, quite frankly, a pain. Traditionally, Japanese households used to have a stove called kamado, which was fueled by wood or charcoal. Barbecuers may recognize the term as a form of grill, which is kind of right but mostly wrong. That type of grill is called mushi kamado. It's based on the same thing, but it's not the same. A traditional big boy kamado is a type of oven, usually a big rectangular thing made from clay or stone with an opening in the top to put a pot into. The main function of this is to focus the heat while insulating the chef against said heat. These ovens were so ubiquitous that you can find them all over the small part of Japan that I actually went to. As a consequence, they defined not only how rice tastes, but also a lot of Japanese housework. Because remember, most Japanese meals were made with rice. Noodles and stuff like that only rose to importance much later. But cooking rice was hard work. I was being serious when I said that the kamado's job was to shield the cook from the heat, because to make good rice you need to get some serious temperatures going. And it's not just done with making the rice really hot. For best results, you need to start with a smaller heat, increase the heat, and then decrease it again after the water started to boil. All of this without lifting the lid, because pressure is important too. That means not only do you have to stock enough fuel, you have to keep an eye on both the fire and the food, and you have to time everything right. That's before we even get into water to rice ratios, and with everything said and done, making rice on a daily basis is hard work. Hard work that the rice cooker has reduced effectively to the push of a button. Eventually at least. The first rice cooker was released by Toshiba in 1955, and it was a bit less convenient than all that. It had two pots, an inner and an outer one, and you had to put a cup full of water in the outer pot, which would cook at the same time as the rice. The last of the water evaporating would trigger the machine to turn off. This may strike you as rather crude. A simple on-off switch triggered by water, and you're right. But with electricity being available to most households by the 1960s, the machine took off, and pretty soon a keep warm function was added. Basically a lower heat mode that the rice cooker enters into instead of switching off. Still, if you remember the complex cooking cycle in the kamado, you might wonder what happened to the concept of quality. And like basically always with automation, at first, nobody cares, just so long as we don't have to deal with all this, because it just doesn't end! But eventually, the wonderful honeymoon phase of not having to cook rice wore off and people wanted to taste it again. By 1979, the first rice cookers with onboard computers entered the market, allowing for a more precise control of the heat. The problem was that electronics, at least at the time, didn't reach the temperatures that a kamado or gas stove could. Also, unless I'm very much mistaken, that was basically an electric hot plate in a box, and those things don't exactly heat or cool in a second, so there was a limit to how much the computer could do, realistically. So in 1988, Matsushita Electric Industries Co. introduced the first rice cooker with induction heating. Induction heating works by use of a coil, through which electricity is conducted, which creates a magnetic field, which in turn creates an electric current in the pot, which heats it. Or so I'm told. Look, I'm not an engineer, I'm just repeating what the internet tells me. All of which means that there's now more heat and more control over said heat. Basically, since then people have come up with a whole lot of inventions to emulate the original kamado taste. There are cookers that replicate the pressure from the kamado's heavy wooden lid, others that have cast iron, earthenware or charcoal-lined pots. How close to the original taste your rice cooker promises to get depends mostly on how much money you're willing to spend on it. Which leads us seamlessly into the buying guide. I'm not going to mention specific companies or models, since that kind of thing keeps evolving, and which ones you can get depends heavily on where you are and how much Japanese you're willing to stomach. Instead, I'm going to outline the three vague categories of rice cooker that exist. The source I found separated these in standard rice cooker, improved rice cooker, and best rice cooker, which I think is pretty biased, so I'm gonna separate them into the one-button rice cooker. This is the most straightforward rice cooker, for someone who wants their rice cooked and nothing else. You put rice and water in, turn it on, and then the little yokai make the rice be done, and they keep it warm afterwards too. It's quick and as simple as it can be, but that doesn't leave you with a lot of options, outside of cook now or do not cook now. A lot of these look like a big cylinder with a head. The complex rice cooker. This is the middleman rice cooker. Boasts more options, usually at least a timer allowing you to prepare rice to start cooking at the time of your choice. What exact set of options you get changes with company and model, but options for different types of rice are popular, and you might even get a little screen and an LED to show you which options you have turned on. They have a few more functions, but not enough to be overcomplicated, making them a compromise between the two extremes. The multifunctional rice cooker. This one's the money taker. For people who want their rice to be made by a rice cooker that dreams of becoming a kitchen. This one is equipped with a whole grab bag of functions, many of which are utterly ridiculous. Popular ones are baking and steaming, but there's little limit to the imagination. Literally, the first machine I found had 45 functions, including making yogurt. Realistically, you'll never use more than a handful of these, and even then, keep the manual at hand, because some of those functions take more steps to be done. The steamer function on mine, for example, makes you fill the bottom with water and suspend the food above it. The multifunctional rice cookers pretty much always have a screen, and they tend to look like the kind of helmet a bad Daft Punk tribute band would wear. Those are the three general categories. But which one do I recommend? None of them. Or all. It depends. First of all, if you're cooking rice every couple of months and if the process of cooking rice doesn't drive you entirely insane, you don't really need one. But if you cook rice daily or even weekly, a rice cooker can save a lot of work. I eat rice pretty regularly, and by this point I've entirely forgotten how to cook it without the rice cooker. Because the rice cooker is flawless and the rice cooker is love incarnate. All hail the rice cooker, I said all hail. As to which type I recommend, all of them have their upsides and downsides. If you want to get the rice done and nothing else, just buy one button. But even then, maybe look if you can find one with a timer function. It's a great convenience to have the option to have some hot rice waiting for you when you get up in the morning or when you come back from work. Other than that, it really depends how much options you want and how much hassle you're willing to deal with. Be prepared to read up on what options a rice cooker has before you buy, though maybe don't go for the one with a million options. Pick one that does a few options well. You're never gonna use everything anyway. That being said, I've had a one button at first, but I gave it away when I got a multifunction. The steamer is nice for making nikuman and mochi, and the baking function is nice for if you want to heat up a bread roll or two and don't want to power up the whole oven. Never use the soup function or the one for gruel. I may be poor, but I'm not Dickensian. In conclusion, rice cookers are awesome. Get one maybe, but think for yourself.